Shalom. So first of all, I want to wish you a very joyful new month of Adar. It is the last month of the spiritual biblical calendar, and next month is going to be Nisan. So it says we say that when we enter the month of Adar, we multiply the joy. So I wish we really a good month full of His joy. So we're going to talk about the Parasha Trumah now. So now we left the first parashot that we're talking about how to remove Egypt from ourselves. Those Parashat Trumah We that we're talking about the fights and the struggles of our soul. And now do we cleanse everything? Well, we are about to build a place to hold His presence. So we're going to talk about the materials that make up the ark. So it's Exodus 25:1 to chapter 27:19, and the Haftarah is the 1 Kings 5 verse 26 to chapter 6 verse 13, Solomon's temple. So then the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel that they may bring an offering, Trumah," that's the name of the parasha, "for everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering." So the Parashat Trumah, Tetzaveh, the next one, and the next one, the first part of Kitisa, form a unit that speaks about the mitzvot, the commandments that are related to the building of this Mishkan, where He wants to dwell. So we read a commentary that says, Hashem wanted the Klal, congregation, Israel, to build a Mishkan, tabernacle, so that His Shekhinah, which is the divine presence, could reside among them. The physical dimension of the Mishkan, made of wood, was nevertheless only a symbol in comparison to the real place where the Shekhinah resides, the heart of every Israelite. How is it possible to make one's heart a Mishkan for the Shekhinah? It is by dedicating one's heart to the Torah and to the Avodah, service to Hashem. So, we're going to talk about this and about, one more time, all the levels of the soul that are reflected in the construction of the Holy Ark that contains the table of the Torah and thus the Messiah. Why? Because we are at these end times, and if we don't talk about sanctification without nobody will see the Lord. This is really very important, so we talk about this. And anyway, the Torah is about this, and also the Brit Hadasha talks about the sanctification and how to cleanse our souls. So the ark had to be built of different materials. Exodus 25, they are to make an ark of acacia wood, 3 3/4 feet long, 2 1/4 feet wide, and 2 1/4 feet high. You are to overlay it with pure gold, overlay it both inside and outside, and put a molding of gold around the top of it. So Rashi is explaining to us, within and without shall you overlay it. Betzalel, who was the one who built it, made 3 arks, in fact, 2 of gold and 1 of wood, each having 4 sides and a bottom, being, however, open at the top. He put then the wooden ark into the larger golden one and the smaller golden one into that of wood, and cover its upper rim, that of the wooden ark, with gold. Consequently, it can be said that the wooden ark was overlaid with gold within and without. This is in Talmud Yoma and Jerusalem Talmud. So there were 3 arches, in fact, that fit into each other. This seems a little bit complicated to us, but the Torah tells us that the ark actually speaks to us about our soul. The divine soul that we call Nefesh Elokit or Neshama, and the animal soul that is called Nefesh Behemit, that we often talk about in our videos, because this is part of the teaching of the training for the restoration of the soul that we really urge you to follow if you want to shine in this generation. We need to talk about sanctification. This is the time, and it is time also to get out of some bondages that we are in our flesh, some suffering. We got a tremendous deliverance with the Lord, but sometimes there are still some stuff that we cannot get rid of, or bad emotions that are really bothering us in our life, or even some issues that we cannot solve. He gave us the tool to do it. You can also sign up for the support groups. We have a support group that will start next May. Now we are in the middle of one. Seats are limited, so be sure to book yours. We want to keep it small. The groups are very useful with practical exercise, really going deep. So really check it and sign up today if you want to book your seat. So gold represented the left. Okay, it's rigor, judgment. Often rigor and judgment have a bad reputation, but we must understand that in the absolute, rigor is what is good. It's pure, it's right and fair. It is the pure without stain. It is like gold, it doesn't change. Truth is din. Truth is pure, it doesn't change. The first table of the Torah were given with this divine attribute. We will study it next parasha, or the next one. Gold represents the unalterable purity of our divine soul, the neshama, which we received as a free gift from the Creator. It is the neshama that shares the same root as the verb linshon, which means to breathe, because we are connected to the infinite by the Creator's breath. It is He who is moving us. If we stop breathing in us, we would die. So biblical Kabbalah, one more time I insist on biblical Kabbalah, and Hasidis teach us that the psychological component of each human being is made again with those three layers. We have one that is deep, which is invisible, that we sometimes don't know. We don't know ourselves, we don't know our calling, we don't know exactly where we're at. And this is the level of the soul at its very essence. We're talking about here about the neshama. The neshama is in fact the real me. It is who I am in truth, who I must unveil in my animal soul. The Messiah came to help us in this task of revealing our calling by revealing and unveiling our neshama, because he helps us constantly, but we have to work on it. Ephesians 4:13, it says, until we all arrive at the unity implied by trusting and knowing the Son of God at full manhood, at the standard of maturity set by the Messiah's perfection. So it's a work. It corresponds to the upper level of the tree of life, the three upper sphirot that we mentioned many times in our videos, the mochin, which is the wisdom, chokhmah, bina, and dat, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. And this purity of this soul does not change. It remains immutably pure like gold. Then there is who we are. I mean, not who we are, but who we are made of, or something much more complex, the personality, including our feelings, moods, instincts, desires, good and bad. And this corresponds to the level of the emotions that correspond to the lower part of the tree of life, the 6 lower sphirot. So the goal of the neshama is like covered with like a dross. We must remove it in order for it to shine. This is what the wood expresses. The wood expresses this because wood is unstable. It can burn, disintegrate, it can rot, it can mold, whatever. It's not stable like gold. And finally, there is the third layer, which can be the behavior, the way with the active thoughts, the words, everything that how we manifest God in this life. And it is in our daily life, in our action, that decay, the mold, or whatever can be manifested. By working on the lower part, the wooden part, which is unstable and reflects our emotional instability, we can turn and make this wood into a precious wooden chest that will house the gold of the neshama. Like it says, it refers to this in 2 Timothy 2:20, in the large house there are some vessels and pots not only of gold and silver, and here this is really alluding to what we're talking about, because we're talking about vessels that can hold the light, or kli and or, and also of wood and clay, depending on how we are made. That is, some are meant for honorable use and some for dishonorable. If a person keeps himself free of defilement by the latter, he will be a vessel set aside for honorable use by the master of the house and ready for every kind of good work. His neshama will shine. And again, we have another text from Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 3:12, that says, some will use gold, silver, or precious stones in building on this foundation, while others will use wood, grass, or straw. But each one's work will be shown for what it is. This day will disclose it because it will be revealed by fire. The fire burns everything. What is left, gold can stand, wood can be destroyed. The fire will test the quality of each one's work. And what is the following verse? 1 Corinthians 3:16. Don't you know that you people are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you? We are exactly in the context of Parasha Trumah, taught by Jews to Jews who knew their sources, and to the nation coming in and joining to this teaching. So the last layer of the goal reflects also the potential, the mirror of what he wants to accomplish in us. He sees the end, even if we do not. When Peter says, you will have to suffer only a little while. After that, God, who is full of grace, the one who called you to his eternal glory in union with the Messiah, will himself restore, establish, and strengthen you and make you firm, in order to present the Messianic community to himself as a bride to be proud of, without a spot, wrinkle, or any such thing, but holy and without defect. So we need to see ourselves also the way he looks at us. We need to see the end and see us through his eyes. He is here to help us and gives us the tools to work out our salvation, to become as one complete man to the level of the fullness of the Messiah. And what does he ask us? He asks to be holy, Kdoshim, Exodus 25, and let them make me a sanctuary, Mikdash, that I may dwell, Shachanti, among them. So dwell, I'm not going to expand on this. This is about talking about how he is going to live in the tabernacle of our heart. This is with John, the same verse. I share with you what we have developed in our Shabbat Bet Midrash meeting that happens every Shabbat. If you want to join us, you're mostly welcome, and send us an email to this address, information@tzukatdavid.com, and we will send you the link for the Zoom conference. So the word sanctuary, Mikdash, comes from the root kadash, which means to sanctify, hallow, dedicate, set apart, separate, to mean different. And Leviticus 11:45 tells us, for I am the Lord who brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, Kdoshim, for I am Kadosh. So God's people are called to this Kedusha, to this holiness. And 1 Peter is quoting the same verse. He who called you is holy, Kadosh. You also be holy, Kedoshim, in all your conduct, because it is written, be holy, for I am holy, Kadosh. So Kadosh means to be set apart, to be different, meaning to reflect his divine attributes, qualities, therefore to be set apart from the rest of the world, not the thoughts of the world and the bad thing coming from a bad heart. Be Kadosh, be separate, different, no longer reacting according to our flesh, but according to his attributes. Look at this passage from Peter, which takes up the verses of the Torah. 1 Peter 1:15. One more time, you will have to be holy because I'm holy. I am Kadosh, meaning I am separate, not driven by passions and bad things that come out of the heart. Also, if you are addressing as Father, the one who judges impartially according to each person's actions, you shall live out your temporary stay on earth in fear. This is exactly this. We are on a pilgrimage, the pilgrimage in search of the revelation, the unveiling of our soul, neshama, that must shine in our animal soul. You should be aware that the ransom paid to free you from the worthless way of life which your fathers passed on to you, education, memories, false conception of life about yourselves and others, and so on, did not consist of anything perishable like silver or gold. On the contrary, it was the costly, bloody, sacrificial death of the Messiah. And here the blood refers also to the animal stage of our soul, that needs to be redeemed, as of a lamb without defect or spot. God knew him before the founding of the universe, but revealed it in the last days, and we are really at the end time, Acharit Hayamim, is for you, for your sakes, because it's for us to help us in this process of cleansing by the circumcision of our hearts, even now more than ever. Through him you trust in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory, so that your trust and hope are in God. And what is the final touch of this passage? The goal of all this? Now that you have purified yourself by obeying the truth, judgment, rigor, so that gold, you have a sincere love for your brothers. Otherwise, we don't have a sincere love. We cannot. Love each other deeply with all your heart. Everything is about this, fulfilling those two major mitzvot: love the God, your God, and love your neighbor as yourself. So I just want to share with you a little bit of the restoration of the soul course, and talking about the soul again. Just as there are those three arches, we have also those three bodies in man. We have the external body, which is Mashra de Chivya Klipat Anahash, meaning what was infused with the venom of the serpent. This is our body and the way we react. The middle klipa body, which is called Klipa Noga, meaning we can influence on it being good or bad, we choose. And the internal wall, corresponding to the Neshama, is the Hashmal. The latter is nourished by man's thoughts, hence the verse that says to bring every thought captive to the obedience of Messiah, 2 Corinthians 10, and every arrogance that raises itself up against the knowledge of God, we take every thought captive and make it obey the Messiah. We are also made, so here talking about arrogance, talks about the element of fire that consumes and is full of pride. We are made of different elements, air, fire, water, earth. We developed this in our class. And we have to balance these elements, and for that we have to be educated to know about this and know ourselves. We must know also what kind of strength drives us. If it will be the fire or the water or the earth, and to discern how we are fighting in our lives. And so to balance, we have to know how to be a lion when it's necessary, a snake when it is necessary, a dove when it is necessary, like it says in Matthew 10:16. Pay attention, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves, so be prudent as snakes and harmless as doves. So we have to know ourselves and to know how we are animated and how we act in this life. For instance, talking about anger, which results from the element of fire. Controlling your anger can be an important step, and Baruch Hashem, we really succeeded in correcting a lot of our bad character traits. We work on our sanctification, but sometimes we come so far, meaning that we have this anger, we can control it, we're not angry anymore, but inside, yet there's still some anger that is trying to push. And in Colossians 3:8 it tells us, now put them all away: anger, exasperation, meanness, slander, obscene talk. The next step is to silence your ego, so that you will no longer feel the offense and therefore the anger. Like it says in 1 Peter 2, for what credit is there in bearing up under a beating you deserve for doing something wrong? But if you bear up under punishment, even though you have done what is right, God looks on it with favor. Indeed, this is what you were called to, because the Messiah too suffered on your behalf, leaving an example so that you follow his steps. He committed no sin, nor was any deceit found on his lips. He was insulted and didn't retaliate with insult. He suffered, didn't threaten, and then by his wounds we are healed. So it is necessary to change our way of thinking, because the way we think, the thoughts are the results of our hidden inner desire. So we need to change our will, to change our thoughts, to renew our intelligence in order to change this will. What are the information, the things, the ideology that we feed our mind with? When we are born again, we receive this kind of upgrade, but we must continue to work. What can continue to purify our will, what we want in the depth of ourselves, is the revelation of the Torah in Yeshua with the Ruach HaKodesh. This is what we want. This is the pure water that can cleanse us of all our wounds, all misconceptions. So we must renew our understanding with the studying of the Torah under the leading of the Ruach HaKodesh in order to really reach our inner will. And the same way that there are 70 stem nations that we can read in Genesis 10, in return for their 70 entities, 70 souls with Jacob descending into Egypt. Egypt represents our old men, the Yetzer Hara, we talked about this, the Nefesh Behemit, the animal soul. Each of the 70 nations, 70 midot, must descend into Egypt to be discerned and purified, like Yeshua went to prison to set free the captives. Israel must bring up these souls. This is the collective soul, the whole body of Messiah that we are, and to descend into the 70 nations to bring them up. We need to bring this. This is the concept of Israel. This is what is called Israel in the light of the word. Israel meaning the light of the word, and the light of the word is Or HaOlam. And one more time, Or HaOlam shares the same numerical value as Mashiach, Messiah. So again, it is with his help that we can do this, but we have some work to do also. We have some work to do to transform our animal soul into a precious wooden box, our earthen vessel into a golden vase to house and reveal and unveil the pure and unalterable level of our neshama. So one more time, I encourage you to come and study with us, to register to the different classes that we offer on Torah, on restoration of the soul, biblical Kabbalah. You can join us on Shabbat for a virtual Beit Midrash. Send us an email. Do not miss these teachings, which are really a balm for our souls, from your souls. This is the tool that he has given us in the end times in order to grow in his knowledge. And this is what's happening. Our faith is growing in him, our knowledge of him is growing, and we really want to have even more and more of his presence in our life, to be sanctified, to be his bride. So thank you very much for listening. Come and study with us, and I wish you a very, very joyful month of Adar, and may the joy of his presence crown our head. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.